Hello everyone, welcome to my channel Lecture Notes. So today I'll be explaining the rest of the poem Meg Flecknoe, which is written by John Dryden. So in the earlier video I had explained 7 to 8 pages, that is till line 37 of the poem, and in this video I'll be explaining the rest of the poem, that is the second part. I would like to give a quick recap of this poem. First of all, you should know that this is a satire or a lampoon on Thomas Shadwell. So Dryden has written a revenge on Thomas Shadwell because he had wrote a satire named The Medal on Dryden. So it is written in a revenge in the form of a lampoon on Thomas Shadwell. And in the first 7 to 8 pages, he has described that Flecknoe, the king of dullness, is looking for a right person so that he can name the throne after him. And after all the struggle, he finds his son, Meg Flecknoe, that is Thomas Shadwell, the right person to sit on the throne because he is full of dullness and he should be the one who should rule the kingdom. So, how Dryden has shown that he is the epitome of dullness, he is the epitome of monotonous, that he should rule the kingdom of monotonous. So, in the rest of the lines, he'll be comparing it to the prominent figures and everything, that how he is the one who should be named Meg Flecknoe, that is the king of boredom. Moving on to the lines, line number 38 onwards. When thou on silver Thames thou cut thy way with well-trimmed oars before the royal barge, swelled with the pride of thy celestial charge, and big with Hammond, commander of an host. So he's showing that in the silver Thames his boat is rowing forward, and royal barge, that now he's going to be the king. So he has his ego has been boasted like a pride of thy celestial charge, referring to that how his ego is compared to the god's ego or a celestial thing, that he he doesn't compare himself to the normal human being. That Shadwell thinks that he is not a normal human being, he's blessed with characteristics of an god, and therefore he shows his bombastic traits in front of everyone and big with Hyman, but in reality, extending Dryden extended the metaphor that he's a big woman and has no characteristic of men, that though he's going to become the king of boredom, but in reality he's a big woman and nothing more. The like was near an Epsom blanket toss. So here Dryden shows the popular mode of punishment, indicating that how he is not worth of any reward, but what he deserves is punishment. So this is the reference to the plays of Shadwell where characters were tossed, basically Absalom and the Virtuoso, that are the two plays which is written by Shadwell. So he says that he is the right person for the dullness, for the kingdom of dullness, but what he deserves is to be tossed in blankets. He needs to be tortured physically as well as mentally. This is the right way to treat him. And in the last two lines, methinks I see the new Arian sail, the lute still trembling underneath thy nail. So Arian was a great Greek musician who jumped in sea because the fellow sailors were jealous of him. Now he's comparing Arian to uh, Sh- Shadwell, that if he jumps in the water in the Thames, no animal will also protect him, no animal will sail him towards the shore, because not not only the humans but animals also detest his music, his work. So in this few lines, Dryden extend his conceit by comparing Meg Flecknoe to the fabled Arian, a Greek musician who jumped in sea because the fellow sailors were jealous of him. He was rescued while at sea by dolphins who were charmed by his music and had carried him to shore. Then employs the term "sure" as a scatological reference made clear from the term toast, an allusion to sewage floating on the top of the water. So he says that the great musician, was carried by the dolphins, but he will somehow float or drown. But if he floats on the Thames, it will be like seeing a disgusting or a sewage floating on the top of the water. He won't be seen as a great person, but a sewage that is floating on the water. And Daival sharpened thumb from shore to shore, the tremble squeaks for fear, the baseless roar echoes from pissing alley, Shadwell call. So her baseless roar, sharpened thumb refer that how his music has more of a noise, that to an irritating noise, and was never pleasant to ears. Earlier he compared that his music is neither pleasant for the animals. Now he's telling that his music is sheer noise and won't be pleasant in the ears for humans also. Pissing alley here refers to earlier Dryden has established that Shadwell is not appreciated by humans as well as animals, now portraying that his music is good for nothing, that um, his music is not good for people to listen even when they are doing the insignificant things. Shadwell Call and Shadwell, they resound from Aston Hall. About thy boat, the little fishes throng, and at the morning toast, the floats along, sometimes as prince of the harmonious band, thou whist thy papers in the threshing hand. So the fish food and sewage floats on the surface of sea. Similarly, Shadwell's music is compared to waves, which people can listen and see, but doesn't touches their heart. So if some crowd do like the music, but they won't get it or cherish it for a long period of time because it is a sheer noise or it is a sheer monotonous thing which nobody can appreciate. And sometimes the prince refers to refers to the violent beating of rhyme. Shadwell had apologized for the use of rhyme in the preface of his opera Psyche, so Dryden is making fun of his characteristics here. So throughout this paragraph is he's trying to portray that whatever he speaks, whether it is in the form of prose or verse or in the form of music, whatever he does, it is only a sheer noise which doesn't have a meaning and won't be cherished by the public because it is a noise which only irritates people, whether it is a human or an animal. Saint Andre's feet never kept more equal time, nor even the fest of their own Sykes rhyme. So Saint Andre is the name of a French dancing master who choreographed Dryden's opera. And usually when a person dances, it is in sync and a few steps are repeated. So in the preface, Shadwell has called the most famous master of France. So it's a pun on dance as well as his opera. Dryden puns on the word feet here, referring to the feet of a dancer, Saint Andre, as well as the metrical feet and rhyme scheme of Shadwell's Psyche. So here he's saying that Shadwell, again and again repeat the lines. So he's making fun of that thing that he doesn't do anything but only repeats the same line again and again. So just so like tautology they fell, that pale with envy, Singleton forswore, and lute and sword which he in time bore, and would he never would act Villeneuve more. Singleton is one of the royal musicians, while Villeneuve was Shadwell character in an opera. So Dryden here is mocking on Shadwell by saying the royal musician was so jealous of Shadwell that he took an oath that he won't take part in opera, so ridiculing Shadwell's claim of being an excellent musician. In the last paragraph, it was about music, mocking his music, and now he's mocking his music as well as the monotonous effect that he shows in his every work. Then he give a mock epic form where he says that the royal musician was so jealous that he took an oath that he won't take part in opera because of Shadwell. Here stopped the good old sire and wept for joy in silence raptures of the hopeful boy. Hopeful boy has been referred to Shadwell. So old sire have been referred to the king, that is Flecknoe, who now stands from throne, who has happy tears in his eye, and is mesmerized to think about the bright future of his son. All arguments, but most his plays persuade that for annuated dullness he was made. All arguments here is referred to talents that out of all his attributes, the best are the place for which he wants Meclekno to reside on throne. Enated is the oiling of king before coronation, that for alienated dullness he was made, close to the walls which fair Augustus blind, the fair Augusta much to fair incline. So Augusta is old name of London. The time reference is to the period when people were in a state of apprehension on the account of Popish plot. Popish plot, it is a plan of assassinating, it was a plan of assassination of King Charles II. So Flecknoe knows that there are chances that his son might not be accepted by public. So like Augustus, like at that point of time people thought of disowning the king and going against the king. Similarly says that though he is the right person for the dullness, still people won't like him, and there are chances that the people will go against him because he doesn't know to do anything right. And clearly though he's the master of boredom, but there are high chances that he can do this task also in a wrong way. An ancient fabric raised and formed the site. There stood a fure and barbarian at the height, a watchtower once, but now so fate ordains. Of all the pile, an empty name remains. So now it will be the more of a description where the palace description, that how where he is going to reside, how it is the kingdom, everything about it. So fabric here refers to the building or the king's palace here, the ancient fabric that is his palace, raised and formed the site, that it is the oldest and the ancient site. The Barbarian was a defensive fortification located in London. Its former glory is gone, however, as it has become the site of brothels for the purpose of polluted joys. So, no, he won't be living in a proper kingdom with a palace, but he is living around a place which is next to a brothel. That being a king, he should live in a perfect palace, but for him, the right place to live is next to brothel. So his kingdom is also shown in a deteriorated way. Of all pile, an empty name remains, for from its old ruins brothel house arise, screens of lewd loves and the polluted joys, where their vast courts the mother's stumps keep, and undistributed by watch in silent sleep. So making a sarcasm on how mighty the king will be when he lives in a brothel, he is unable to continue the might, but made his place in a ruin. A kingdom of power has turned into a scheme of vulgar sexuality, lustful pleasure. So constant refer to the mother's scrumptious keep care, keep also refers to the mistress, and how trying to show that his might in, is in such a low level. Usually the king shows their supremacy and power, and through this paragraph you can clearly see that this king will be living in ruins and also not in a proper way with harlots and keeps. Near there, a nursery erects its head, where queens are formed and future hero bred, where unflecked actors learns to laugh and cry, where infant punks their tender voice try. So nursery here has been referred to the acting school which was next to brothel. Here acting was imparted to young boys and girls. Queens here refer to mocking the young girls. Sorry, it is girls were taught such a poor acting that they turned out to punks, that is a harlot or a prostitute. So clearly describing his kingdom, that how his kingdom will also be the not perfect form. And little maxims the gods defy. Great Fletcher never threads in buskin's hair, not greater Johnson dares in socks appear, but gentle skimming just reception finds. A little maxim here refers to a character from Dryden's play, The Royal Martyr. Here is a self-reflexivity which allows Dryden to mock his own earlier plays, pointing to the lack of it in Shadwell's polemic and his plays. So here Dryden is making some fun of his own works, his own characters also, which shows that he's trying to show that how great he is, that he can mock his work on his own. He knows what he has done right and wrong, But it is Shadwell who needs to be pinpointed that he has done nothing right in his works. Then Dryden tells that how low level or inferior dramas were shown, like of skimming, dramas written by inferior pun star were played. Fletcher was known for tragedies and Johnson was known for humor. Both were the great artists of the time and their works were never played. So he's trying to show that in this playhouse, only the worst things were shown, the worst works were shown, which were very lewd, and that was the reason that it was run and governed by Shadwell, because it used to show the worst plays of the time, and that was the reason that Johnson and Fletcher works were never shown, because they were the best of the time. Amidst the moments of vanished minds, pure clinches, the sub suburban news affords, and Panton waking harmless war with words, have Flecknoe as a king, have Flecknoe as a place to fame well known. So, how blind minded people applauded the works. Entertainment was through puns, and incest plays were performed on stage. So, again, referring that this playhouse only showed the worst plays which didn't have any form of entertainment, and as a reason, the people never applauded it. And if the people applauded, they were the low minded people. So, Shadwell Throne was aptly placed in the realm of dullness, which was devoid of good writers, plays, performers, drama houses. So, everything was the best realm of dullness. And Panton Waking, here Panton again is an inferior known writer for his puns. A writer should write such words that readers it is fall in love, but it um for Panton, it appeared that he was having a he was having a war with words. So clearly, referring to the worst poets of that time, that Panton did not make sure that the readers fall in love. He made sure it appeared that he was having a war with his own words. And then there is referred to for ancient decor prophesied long since that in the pile should reside a mighty prince born for a Scrooge of wit and frail of screen. So Thomas Dekker was a Jacobean playwright who wrote good comedies. But here Dryden's contemptuous reference to Descartes seems to be because of a personal prejudice. This might be because Descartes attacked Johnson, who was highly admired by Dryden. Scrooge means a whip for punishment, so Descartes' prophecy that a prince will be born who will be enemy of wit and use all his power and resources to make sure his kingdom is dull. So again, he's referring to a good writer, Descartes, Thomas Descartes, and showing that he had already prophesied that a prince might come who will be the opposite of wit, who will be the enemy of wit, and make sure that no good thing or good works enter his kingdom. To whom through true dullness should some Sykes owe, but words of misers from his pen should flow, humorists and hypocrites it should produce, whole Raymond families and tribes of brews. Now Emperor's fame had published his renown of coronation through the town. So in this stanza, Dryden has mentioned works of Shadwell and which lacked humor and wit, like Psyche, his opera, humorist and miser, his plays. So he says that he has written works which showed only the lewd things, which were not correct and which were not applauded by the people, implying that his works don't have humor. So that's the reason that he will only promote works like him. He is the person who produces the worst works, and that is the reason that his playhouse is full of the worst works only. So now, with again, he shows the mock heroic tone. Dryden starts telling about the coronation of Shadwell, carrying forward the mock heroic satire. So that is all for the part 2. There will be part 3 and 4 explaining the poem. Thank you for watching this video.